Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here, with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8 and Third Reich events installed. Let's continue with the war. There we go. We're able to supply a lot more units through here, as you can see, than we were over here in the Maldives. Maldives. Recon unit coordination. And we'll do recon unit communications. And we're pushing in here. What I've done is, or I am doing, flying down a bunch of transports. And we're going to see if we can steal supplies from the Italians to supply the campaign here in Tanganyika. Brigade HQs, which have now pushed into the 1945 year, so we're going to stop those. Now, as we can see, the Italians don't necessarily have lots of supplies either, but hopefully the AI, though I don't necessarily have too much hope, but hopefully they are running their own supply column or supply convoys to Mombasa themselves. Let's shift the air supplying to there. Armor unit. Here comes the armor support. More radar. Oh, more radios. Let's do radios. Good submarine damage control. That's always a good thing to have. Keep the subs from sinking. Well, let's do the air. No, thank you. Okay, we gotta stop this. I want to stop it while we still have organization, because they're gonna counterattack. Wait for that unit to get there. Hopefully that'll be enough. But I think my problem here was ran out of supplies. Because normally I can hit these units and overrun them and take them out in detail, but because they come down to face me, but because it was right this one battle here, they were able to hold me up and retreat back. So it wasn't, and I ran out of supplies, so I wasn't able to keep pushing on them. Okay, 400 bomber crew layout. Gun ability, yeah. So this helps obviously our 4-engine bombers, which we have just a few of, and our heavy transports. But it also helps out the naval bombers and float planes as well, because some of those models were 4-engines. So they've sort of balanced it out, along with this also improves those units too, because some were 2-engine. Some models fighter ground control advance. We'll let that go. Radar impact. That's definitely helping on the western front there. Artillery brigades have advanced, and that would be here. Yeah, build time. Okay, we'll go with that. Got a lot of stuff I want to build, more than my factories will allow, but we'll get there. Now what we also need to be doing here is no. See if we can get all these units safely over to here. Now I want to put one of those garrison units in the Maldives and the other two on the 2 ports here just to keep from having to deal with a counter invasion. Sometimes the AI surprises me. Okay, now okay, got all good. Commerce defense is now available as well. We want to protect all of these supply lines, and as soon as I can, I'm going to get this base into naval base into operation. Better deal with the supply situation. Let's see how we're doing here with supplies. Okay, they're still attacking, and they're still moving forward. Autumn mud starts to clear. Okay, well, ground's freezing up in the Soviet Union. Self-propelled artillery battalion is now available. Great. Or artillery or anti-air. So things like the Wirbelwind and the Ostwind. Or at least eventually. Airborne warfare research, that would be good. And the medium artillery brigades as well. Shuts down because we need to increase some of those more. Better twin engine prototypes. Well, we're going to let this go for 1 year. But what is the current model? It's a twin engine. Currently, the BF-110D1. Here we're running with the 109 F4 fighter bomber, the Emil B. Okay, Condor there, flying boat, Blohm & Voss 222. In my last campaign that we played here, there were 2 few and 2 light, because I moved down a light infantry corps fighting in here. And this time, they're not 2 light of units, though I could use that light infantry corps still here. We may hopefully eventually get one down in here to help fight, because we need to tack up into here as well as down into here. But the supply situation is limiting. As soon as I get this, I'm going to put another port in here to help a bit. It's not enough, but it'll help. Doing pretty well with our buildup on the east here. As you can see, hovering over these division stacks. We're going to get some more before the attack built up. But we also have a fair number down in here as well to help out the Romanians. Okay, now we just need to put this there. We're just going to get transported over here. No, this is the unit that brought the stuff down here. They took some losses somewhere along the way. We lost, I think we just fully lost just one motor torpedo boat section, but it had some combat there. We're going to cancel this. Hopefully we can do that before it starts going anywhere. I'm going to put these guys out. Move it around. Very well. Well, we've also taken there, but we have the air power. Oh no, that isn't us. That's us sinking the enemy. Okay, well, let's patrol out here as well. Get those guys out patrolling. Let's get the bombers out there doing their thing too. They're not as good at spotting, particularly things like submarines, but they'll at least, if some engagement happens, likely join in. No, I'll just send him all the way down to there. Oh, they're still moving there. Okay, good. Okay. Flat Tower 2. Okay, the Flat Tower 2 was situated in Berlin, Friedrichshain, and went operational in 41. The Flat Tower is operated in Paris and slow it down. Okay, protect our cities. Radar in Berlin, anti-aircraft gun, pillboxes. Let's see how Berlin's looking already. If it's already super fortified up, then no. Okay, so we have level 1. Our defense networking is good, but yeah, we'll do it. We got lots of energy. We got lots of metal. Not as much as I could have. Supplies. I would have said no if it was a situation with reducing, 5% reduction in production level in ICs or something like that. But we'll go with this. This is already more AA than it. The AI won't attack this. From what I understand, it's anything over 3. The AI will give up bombing. The radar is sort of nice. The pillboxes just in case something really bad goes wrong, but we don't plan that one. Now, of course, Hitler didn't plan that one either, but I have either greater confidence in myself than I did in Hitler, or less confidence in the AI. It's probably more less confidence in the AI than reality compared to the Soviets. Monsoon is over. Okay, dry season. Snow falls. Time to dig in. But actually, that's... Okay, now. Okay, we'll clear these out. Build it, yeah. The Atlantis. Yes, we'll take the Atlantis. Okay, Japan has done 2 things. First, we'll look at the Republic of China-Nanjing is sort of the way they frame it. And this is Nanjing. No, I think I mistaked that before. Here, Nanjing. Yeah, there we are. I know my Chinese geography, just got to get situated. This was a puppet regime. I don't know how to say this. Manchukuo had popular support for the regime. It was a complete puppet regime. One of the prime ministers was a very strong Manchukuoan patriot, or do we say Manchurian? Manchukuo is just Japanese for Manchuria, so it's, you can call it one way or the other, just sort of to define it versus the province or region of Manchuria versus the puppet state of Manchukuo, which is the Japanese pronunciation for it. I don't know what they used internally. If there's any difference. the Manchurian dynasty, the last major dynasty of China was a Manchurian dynasty, and that's Henry Puyi's, the emperor, last emperor of China's family. And when he originally accepted the Manchurian throne from the Japanese, I'm sure, very much thought that he was returning to be a true emperor. Not whether he thought it was thinking in terms of eventually retaking China, or just be the emperor in his ancestral homeland, if you will, and breaking up of China a bit. Up here, I don't know, but he ended up being a very, very much of a puppet. And his original, or one of his main, I don't know for sure, but the original, but one of the main prime ministers was a Manchurian from the region. My understanding, grew up and raised there and all. Was very much a patriot for Manchuria. Wanted Manchuria not to be dominated by, if you will, from their perspective, a southern bureaucracy, because even when the Manchurians were in power in China, my understanding is, I'm far from an expert on China, but my understanding is that the classic Confucian bureaucracy still administered all of China. So yes, a different family from a different region, and maybe this region got some benefit out of it, but I don't even know if that really happened. So a lot of the Manchurian patriots wanted to see this and realize in scale, this is, a huge country with millions and millions of people. They wanted to be more locally governed as opposed to centrally governed either from Beijing or Nanjing or wherever. So they wanted to, support breaking away. Well, Japan, very much not just in economic policies, but definitely in economic policies, but even more so, created this as a puppet state, and I forget the prime minister's name. He was dismissed from service. There's an event you don't see that talks about this, and he went into retirement, and still to this day they collect his fans, because he would, the Chinese fans that they would fan out, and have Chinese calligraphy on one side and a painting that he would do on the other side, and I showed an example of those, and they're actually quite beautiful. So he was a talented artist, and that's how he supported himself in retirement. They didn't quite have modern retirement policies in China at the time, and they're still quite collectible today, these fans. And he was replaced by somebody who was much more of, if you will, a lapdog of Japan and Japan's needs. And so there was a real raison d'etre here for Manchuria, I would say. Most modern day Chinese would disagree with this. We have a few viewers in Taiwan, though I don't think we have any in China, partially because of these Hearts of Iron policies. It's just like I remember talking to a girlfriend of my cousin's who was from China and going to school here in the U.S., was insisting that Tibetans were Chinese and they wanted to be Chinese and that they were just Chinese people. The Tibetans are a different race, not just a different culture. They're a different race. The majority, not necessarily the people in Tibet, because they've imported lots and lots of Chinese, but the majority of the Tibetans would like to be an independent country. But this China, and I think she truly believed what she was educated. I don't think she was trying to spew propaganda at me. It's just what she was taught. I think she was from down in this region, not from Hong Kong, but Canton area type down here, Cantonese. But so it just, her understanding of the situation from the Chinese government propaganda. Now, the situation with the Republic of China-Nanjing. Well, it was very much of a puppet regime. of China. They got, I think, in the 100,000+ Chinese troops historically, and maybe even much more than that, to serve the regime. I don't think that any of those troops were enthusiastically fighting for the Chinese or for the Japanese at all. I think it was a, hey, times are tough in China, somebody's recruiting and you'll get to carry a gun and be well fed and well clothed. Okay, I'll do that job. And so long as that job isn't too difficult, they will do it. I don't know how repressive they were, and there were great huge sections like in here and other areas that, not just in the hinterlands, but that were unoccupied either by the Nanjing government or unoccupied by the Japanese, if you will, in their occupation of China, just because they never had the troops. Basically, in this region, wherever Japan really wanted to go, they could go, but they would have to go in core or greater strength, and that would mean removing strength from somewhere else so that that area would flare up into rebellion. So yes, they could go somewhere, but it would mean a de facto setting up that they would be retreating out of another area. So there was sort of a limited situation of how much of China they could occupy. And so this Nanjing government and its troops were basically sort of internal security troops, would do sort of the minimum amount to maintain. This is my understanding. I may be wrong, but minimum amount of maintaining security for it. And I think a fair amount of the people that served it, administratively, they may have just seen Japan as the great rising power in Asia and thought that better to be on that and make the best deal they can for China, or that they were just simply, desperate and trying to do the least harm, but serve the Japanese. I really don't think that there was historically a real true significant core of support for the Nanjing government. I really don't think so. But we can also look here at revolt risks. Now this is going to change Japan's situation here very quickly, because a lot of these territories that they've been controlling, and even with the revolt risks reducing some of these values, they're going to be losing a lot, but it's going to turn over to puppet, so they'll sort of be getting some of it back. So, okay, we want to create a nice late model Panzer III there. Okay, we're losing 27th Infantry Division. Okay. So, that. And I sort of unfortunately clicked it out a little too earlier. Diplomacy. Tor. Does that mean the Japanese have actually declared war? Yes, are at war with the US and the Philippines. The big wet monsoons break. Okay, maybe that's a different region, because I thought monsoons ended. Or maybe that's... I don't know. Okay, now are we at war? Okay. Okay, then China will be Japan will be giving more and more territory over to the Nanjing government. Germany and we're embargoed by the U.S., but I don't think we're at war with the U.S. yet. I'd personally like to keep it that way as long as possible. Okay, mobile unit command and control. Ships up here to mobile unit training. U-boat pen in La Rochelle. Constructed in La Rochelle. That's down here, isn't it? Oh, that's Bordeaux. Lance. Brest, Lorient. Oh, La Rochelle right here. Okay, yeah, there's just no port there. Okay, do we want this? Trade interdiction gain, unrestricted warfare gain, port engineering gain, seaport capabilities gain, dry dock engineering gain, shipyard level 1, naval base level 1 in here, level 2. For 8,000 supplies. Energy again I'm not worried about. I got more energy than I know what to do with. Okay, well that's a false number because I think that they've sent out a bunch and it's going to return. They're doing goofy things. Yeah, for historical reasons if nothing else, and I like to gain a little bit, but it's a little heavy on the supplies, I think. So now we have a La Rochelle. Boy, I'm messing these things up. So now we're a little bigger port. And we have a shipyard down here. 2. Okay, that shipyard's good. So if I missed that in the thing, I don't know. Okay. Okay. Now, this unit here is Regiment 4. And so here we have a conflict. I'm thinking this is... Not sure. It's either... well, it's probably GGA. So they've also done a NSKK. Do some supplies, yeah. Supply throughput. +1. And what we'll see a German NSKK Africa. We'll see if that comes out. That's an interesting photo there. Okay. So we both have 2 events that do the NSKK. Now let's see where that unit is. Oh, so it starts here. Okay, so you get 2. 1 light and 1 truck, where I just did the truck. Okay, cool. Well, get more. This one is based in Benghazi, where mine was based in Tripoli, or starting there. And they actually did a throughput. That's sort of one of the reasons I took it. Benefit until that by 1%. I think they'll maybe overdoing it a little bit. Okay, again, we're out of supplies here. Okay. They're out of supplies. They've lost their organization because they're not getting enough supplies. Well, there's a big airport up here. No, that won't handle. Well, barely, maybe. Ooh, we gotta check out. Move them there. These guys gotta stop operating until they repair up. So you call this. They may have lost even 1 more. Or maybe not, I don't know. let's go over to these guys. Pair up. These guys probably did lose one. Maybe not, I don't know. But well, they're currently raw. This. Put it there. How interesting. Minor damage, but we'll let them keep fighting. We're going to move these guys back into Terminator. I've noticed also I no longer have some superiority flying units, so that probably means they've been destroyed. I normally kept them weak because I didn't want to overly use too much supplies, maintaining constant flights if they weren't coming in. So we probably should, when we can, build a bunch more fighters, though we're already well behind on our capabilities here. Oh, we got some U-boats and stuff to deal with. Okay, we'll deal with that shortly. I'll mention it. Let's see, I think I have one set of U-boats here. Ready to go. Let's send them down here. And these guys that I sent down here earlier, send them off there. Convoy raiding. Okay, they're not intercepting much at all, so let's move them out to here. Let's see if they will. Now this is some ally. Enemy has sunk one of our convoys. Well, that's a allied convoy because we don't have any moving through there. Don't know who that is. Italy or somebody. It has a port. Maybe Japan. Yeah. Day of Infinity, US. Okay, and I knew that this was going to happen. Okay, the 16th. Totenkopf. SS. Yes, we want SS anti-aircraft. Unit supply production advance. That is great because that reduces our need, or you need to, how many ICs we need to produce. The amounts of needed supplies. Keep our engineers improving. We're going to get some of these big units very soon, which will, well, a bunch of these other units in red. These are, there's 100 ICs, just those two divisions. all of these we will get soon into production. I think now that we are now... Will we get war with the US? Not yet. I think it happens very soon here. Hungary. No, no. One thing we should be building out here is a radar. I'm going to move that to the top. So I actually want it now, in production now. We still haven't taken this province yet. And we've run out of supplies, so we have no longer advanced into there. So we're really seeing a supply bottleneck here. And they're still very slowly moving into there. Okay, and they little or no. Infrastructure is still all red there. Well, let's also build an infrastructure here. Move it to the top as well. If these guys ever get there, they'll be damned useful, but they ran out of supply, so they stopped their advance as well. I'm going to move him into here. I'm just looking here. Okay. This convoy is moving. It's the number 39.2. And local supply 39. Fuel they have more. Daily required 125. So we need a lot more. Well, these guys are out of supply, and we don't need them like we have in the past to win victories in North Africa or in Sub-Saharan Africa. So we'll send these guys and Kessler back up there. That will help. These motor torpedo boats. Well, these guys are submarines. They're operating, and they got plenty of supplies off of the French port. So let's look at that. Put them out here. That one's Vichy. That one's British, so they'll need to be. And so we're gonna send these guys over here to get supplies there. And they're going to move there. Rebased there so that they're now no longer drawing supplies here. And yes, I probably should have done this before. But it will help. Oh, okay. Well, cool. Let's first do these. What's that supply? Okay. Now, before had the event for actually, and as one of the viewers pointed out, the Jagdpanzer 1 and the Marder 2 and 3. Well, they did do the tank destroyers just like the last event, very much so, and I keep trying to move these and not lose the top of that. Wish they cut right about, maybe I should do that, right about that much off, because that would still leave most of the text and give me enough space to operate here. To move these things around and show you the pretty pictures that I make. So we have the tank destroyer types here. That's obviously on a Panzer 1. And originally their revolver held, I had these matched to being some other types, but okay. I don't know if they just reverted or what. Some of those should be the other conversion models. Oh well. They also did, and actually slightly earlier, for the SIG 33 on the Panzer 1, they had these for the operation in, I believe they had them in for Poland, and I know they very much had them in operation in the Battle of France and moving into the Low Countries as well. Just taking your basic Panzer 1, putting a big box on top of it. And one of the reasons it's so high is the wheels for the 150 millimeter infantry gun. It's not, and this is Schwer infantry Gewehr, heavy infantry gun, not a howitzer or classical long-range artillery piece. These do shoot indirect fire capabilities just because it's a fairly low powered, but generally speaking, the guys shooting the guns can observe the target. Now they might put the gun entirely behind like a low hill or something so that you can't see the gun, but one of the gun crew command type element could normally within the range go up on top of the low hill or trees or whatever with binoculars, observe the fall of the shot of the gun. They're not shooting 10 miles away kind of indirect fire artillery and with forward observers calling. You could use forward observers calling the shots down, of course, but the ranges were much closer, and so often the guys themselves and actually firing the gun would be looking through a sight, and even though it was a fairly long range, so they would be doing an indirect trajectory as opposed to a flat anti-tank gun kind of trajectory. They were doing that as well, but they could also fully mask the gun, whether mounted on a vehicle or towed. But so these were the basic towed models that were just almost literally parked and secured down on top of the Panzer ones. And if you see a back image, you can see the gun trail still going back to the back of the gun. Where on the 38Ts, which are these two, there's a sort of a factory fresh one, and I think that's in North Africa. They were removing the turrets, removing the upper parts of the hull, and putting a gun shield on, for the crew and everything else. And if you notice, it's proportionally much lower because they've now mounted the gun. Obviously you can take it off, but mounted it permanently, and there's no field carriage still there. For the Panzer II, and the reason I didn't include an image of one, they didn't do this for the Panzer II because I think they would have had to make them like these, and I think these carried so little ammo, very little ammo on board, and were very cramped. So they didn't want to continue with that thing. I think it was going to be a similar situation with the Panzer II. What they did do with the Panzer II was fresh construction, and they used those in North Africa, I think almost exclusively, because they only built like 12 or 24 of them. And they added a road wheel to the Panzer II layout and stretched it out, and it was a very low profile version, but it was a purpose-built infantry gun support weapon on the Panzer II hull, where these represent conversions. They later took the 38T tank, and when they moved the engine forward next to the driver, got rid of the radio operator or machine gun operator next to the driver, moved the engine forward, and moved the fighting compartment to the rear. For the anti-tank gun version, they also basically the same hull and gun shield and mount, and just mounted the 150 millimeter infantry gun there, and went along with the later versions. It was much weaker armor, get the speed up, keep it maneuverable, and since it really wasn't meant to take anti-tank gun hits. It's just the armor was there to stop bullets, from machine guns or rifles, or near misses of artillery coming in and putting shrapnel around. That's all that these this upper work here was meant for, or the later purpose-built versions. But so this represents very little supplies, teeny bit of manpower, and you will get a bunch of these, and this is the sort of best version they have, which is they sort of intermix these with the standard self-propelled artillery. But so you get 3 of those. Most of the conversions were going over to the anti-tank gun. Only a few, or a third or whatever, were the moving to the howitzers, because the howitzers were very useful, but they needed the anti-tank guns more, and that because mainly because tanks move quicker, and they were need to reposition the anti-tank guns rapidly to deal with the tanks, where you could tow the heavy infantry guns, and they're most early war I definitely see pictures of the infantry guns being towed by horses, but mid and later war I only see them being towed by vehicles of one sort or another. Getting them in and out of action wasn't as time critical as it was getting an anti-tank gun in and out of action for direct dealing with a tank. Okay, again, thanks for watching. We're gonna now need to start looking at, okay, and so they've totally did this. I'm used to seeing it happening in stages, because normally Japan occupies another region of China and then turns it over. So this is the normal last stage of it, because Republic of China-Nanjing, as we can see here, again it gets, well, this is interesting. They have no, okay, well this has a they've got cores where they don't have here, so they get to play maybe some whack-a-mole. I don't know if there's going to be any outbreaks, but this Nanjing government isn't really thought to be strong enough to deal with even AI potential invasions against against other AIs, so they leave that to Japan to fight. Japan still gets, although it has the revolt risk, still gets all the benefits from these factories and resources in the coastal regions, with the puppet of the Nanjing internally, so that works out fairly well. And it also will mean all these like elite marine divisions, instead of using them to occupy China or guard the border against Sikkim out here. Now, where do we get the picture? Yeah, that's Sikkim, Xinjiang, whatever. Guard that border. They get to guard other borders and be useful here in other places. So that's, I think, a good compromise. It is a little unrealistic to have Japan, even without cores, owning all of China in that sense, because one, they couldn't have done it historically, they just didn't have the manpower, and it just fueling their industry too much. They should get benefits. They will, because they will get benefits from owning the coastal regions, which were fairly highly industrialized, as I just showed, and with excess resources and supply production going from Nanjing to Japan to fuel it, and this will now allow the Nanjing AI to hopefully build smartly good AI anti-insurgency type forces, but we'll see whether they do that or not. But they'll start building something there on their own to sort of defend themselves. So that's good. And let's see, Japan. Not any major operations yet. Are they at war with... No, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that. Japan with the U.S. Okay, they're not yet at war. We could call them to arms. But I'm not doing that just yet because let's go to the U.S. We may do this eventually, or there will likely be an event, and I'm sort of waiting for it to happen. There probably will be an event. So I'm used to them very much more quickly. The U.S. declaring war on Germany, but for now, they're embargoing us and Japan, but they're only at war with Japan, Manchukuo, and Beijing. They're not even at war with Nanjing. Don't know if the Japanese will call them. I hope the Japanese get their acts together and get these guys back to where they belong, ready to deal with the Brits down there. Yeah, this episode's running a little long, but I wanted to look at them. So, okay, hopefully Japan will deal well for a while with the U.S. Keep them occupied. We've got lots of forces here. They really, if they're used smartly, they don't totally pull out defensive forces from Japan. Wow, that's a lot, including like 6 CAG forces right there. Don't pull all their forces out here, but leave a decent garrison. But start, when the time comes, start invading here in the Philippines, which they're at war with. Hopefully they should start invading the Philippines. They should do some good conquests there. Okay, again, thanks for viewing. Thanks for liking these videos. Please post your comments. Love to hear from you. Really appreciate you guys because I get to know you a little better, at least as a group. What you're thinking about, who you are, who I'm talking to, because as one person commented about much older episode in there about how some of the comments I'm making about the youth and how he thought he was young and how he thought most of the the viewers here were well informed, and I do agree. Most of the viewers here are the informed minority, whether youthful or older, the informed minority, and I sort of need to know who I'm talking to what level I need to talk to you on about that, because I don't want to skip over things that I presume you know and confuse you, but I also don't want to have to explain who Hitler was and who Tojo was versus who maybe Tojo versus Emperor Hirohito was in Japan. If you all know who those two people were and their relations, great, but if you don't, and obviously we haven't talked much about it because I haven't made my mod really yet. A few events that are in TRE on the Rising Sun events mod that really goes into the clashes within Japanese culture, within Japanese military establishments, because Japan functionally had 2 armies. It was the army in Greater China, if you will, before classic World War II starts for them, and the army at home. Now this army over here basically didn't care what the government over here said. It was going to do whatever it damn well pleased, and all it cared about was supplies, recruits, and other things coming. It was sort of its own feudal satrapy that was running itself. And again, I'm wondering, you people know what a satrapy is? I don't know. And yes, I'm also cognizant or realize that I may be talking to an international audience who, if I use a word like satrapy, may or may not know, and even though it's not particularly an English word. And so that also concerns me. I don't want to lose people with some level of understanding of English that don't. But that and the army at home was sort of a different thing that was responding to the Japanese government. And then, of course, you also had the other military establishment, the Navy. in Japan that was very powerful. And so there's a lot of things that I want to deal with Japan and its rise, and it's why it did what it did in World War II. And there's very significant reasons. It wasn't just a simplistic setting up of Japan trying to modernize and developing its industry, especially certain core industries, and then not having the resources. That is part of it. That is a very significant part of it. And then feeling because it didn't have its resources, it was expanding into places like Manchukuo, and then other countries were putting economic embargoes against them, so then it felt it needed to even more secure its resources. That fuels a lot of the war, but that doesn't fuel the sort of, if you will, political and cultural and social dynamics that were going on within Japan and feeding all of that. There's a lot there to it. Just like it wasn't just a lot of German population in Germany that some guy thought, oh, we need more room because we're having lots and lots of babies, so let's get room in the East. There was a whole hell of a lot more, as we've explored, to Hitler and Nazism. And to the point that Hitler was working for a program to increase the population having more babies. Not just what's a good, stable, solid population within our, at that time, much larger Germany than it is today. And with the only significant weaknesses that didn't have a land bridge to East Prussia, you know. So the Lebensraum, the living room, to some degree is just an excuse used to the German people as much to any foreign powers to justify wars of aggression. So that there's a lot more going on than simple geopolitical positions and strength. That's often how Japan is described as, they were embargoed, so they needed to get oil from here, or they were, U.S. steel, and there's a lot, you watch a lot of the movies made during World War II, they talk about people being wounded by U.S. steel that we had sold to Japan, that then Japan used in bombs and bullets and other things. That was definitely a big theme of it, and the U.S. just started to embargo some of this stuff. But there's a whole lot more to it than simple the economic imperialism, if you will, that is often used to explain commonly to, I know, Americans, but I presume the world, as to why Japan did what it did. And there's some very, very ugly cultural things. I was just reading, which is Wake? Is this Wake? Yeah, Wake Island. Wake Island, when they took Wake Island, they took the American prisoners of war, I believe, all of them off the island. A lot of them died in captivity. But they left 98 American civilians that were part of the civilian, because they had a, basically Wake Island was sort of like Midway in that they were using as a base for flying commercial airlines through to Asia over on. There were 98 civilians there, and the Japanese kept to use as workers to build bunkers and those kinds of things. That is against normal laws of war, of course. But at one point, the Japanese commander feared imminent U.S. invasion, which wasn't happening, but he feared it, so he had them all executed. Blindfolded, machine gun. One survived, hid, came back, inscribed on the rock, 98 people killed or whatever, I forget exactly the title, on a rock near there and buried here. And then he was, sometime after that, found. No one knows who this person was. He was found, and then he was beheaded by the, personally by the commander These are civilians. These are not non-combat personnel. These aren't disgraced soldiers or soldiers that didn't fight well that maybe in the Japanese. These were just civilians. These were non-combatants. So they cut his head off and buried him presumably with the rest there. Now, of course, the commander surrendered later to the U.S. and then he was hanged after the war. Not promptly, but hanged after the war because of his war crimes. And so there's a lot of cultural things going on with Japan that were quite ugly at this time. Quite ugly. Okay, just another one of my diatribes. Have a good day.